The night before the wedding, Chin Yaro drugged me with sleeping pills and let his childhood sweetheart shave my head. When I woke up and saw my reflection in the mirror, I completely broke down. Mu Chuchu, with a head of glamorous curls, stuck out her tongue in a faux apology. Oops, my hand slipped. You won't hold it against me, will you, sis? It's all my fault. Now Sister Lu Jing is going to be the ugliest bald bride in history. But Chin Yaro affectionately pinched her nose, forgiving me on her behalf with a doting tone. Just slap on a wig to get by. Once the veil's on, they all look the same anyway. No one's as pretty as you. The onlookers fell into a dead silence, their eyes fixed on my disheveled state. They were all waiting to see how I, the fiancé, would react, expecting me to throw a fit like I always used to. Instead, I just smiled graciously. I took the engagement ring off my finger and slipped it onto hers myself. Why go to all that trouble? Why not just get a different bride? With the veil on, they all look the same anyway. 1. My gracious concession took everyone present by surprise. I just wanted to help you change your hairstyle, Sister Lu Jing, but my hand slipped. Please don't be mad at me, okay? Mu Chuchu threw herself into Chin Yaro's arms, looking at me with glistening tears in her eyes. The rest of the people present exchanged uneasy glances. I had no choice but to steel myself and try to smooth things over. Sister-in-law, you've got it all wrong. We're all friends of Chin, just like Chuchu, but you're the only one who's his bride. Chin Yaro finally snapped out of it and tried to explain. Chuchu just has a playful personality. She didn't mean any harm. She shaved the bride's head bald the day before the wedding. They offered an apology, yet couldn't resist gleefully snapping a bad photo of me as a keepsake. With all these incidents piling up, can you honestly claim there's no ill intent? What a half-hearted excuse. Meeting Chin Yaro's protective gaze, I responded with a scornful smile. What if she gets another whim and decides she wants to play the bride? I might as well be sensible and step aside now. Chin Yaro's face darkened abruptly, his expression so stormy you could wring water from it. Lu Jing, haven't you caused enough trouble? Chuchu is just childish by nature, playful and mischievous. Must you really pick a fight with a child? As soon as these words were spoken, an awkward silence fell over the room once more. Never mind that I'm actually half a year younger than Mu Chuchu. Even if I were a child, I wouldn't do something as absurd as shaving the bride's head on the eve of her wedding. I could only watch helplessly as Chin Yaro shielded Mu Chuchu behind him. He was so careful and attentive with her, yet once upon a time, I was the one he used to protect. Sister Lu Jing, it's my fault. Please don't blame me, Yao, if you're really angry. Just hit me or scold me, I won't fight back. Mu Chuchu peeked out timidly from behind Chin Yaro to look at me. She was frowning, looking fragile and uneasy, yet her eyes held nothing but blatant provocation. Chin Yaro's expression softened. How could this possibly be your fault? I was the one who put the sleeping pills in, so the responsibility is mine to bear. Don't mind her, it's all my fault for spoiling her rotten. Now she throws a tantrum and gives you the cold shoulder over the slightest little thing. A lump of frustration caught in my chest. Chin Yaro once promised he would protect me for the rest of my life, so I can be my true, unfiltered self without having to take any crap. It's clearly Mu Chuchu who's in the wrong here, yet, the way he tells it, I'm the one causing trouble. He was whispering soothing words to Mu Chuchu. I have never known a love so deep and tender that it lingers in one's gaze. I watched the scene with a bitter, self-mocking smile. In the past, I would have raised hell to demand justice for myself. But now, I am utterly devoid of any feeling. In this relationship, I lost everything a long time ago, too. I'm afraid even Chin Yaro himself has forgotten. Back then, he was the one who pursued me and confessed his feelings. We met through a blind date and discovered we shared many common interests and hobbies while chatting. Chin Yaro had a refined, handsome appearance and spoke with such elegance that it was hard not to be charmed. So, it was only natural that we ended up together. He would send me good morning and good night messages every day, thoughtfully bring me a cup of hot ginger tea during my period, and was never stingy with surprise bouquets for every holiday. Back then, I truly believed I was going to be the happiest person in the world. That was, until the time came to discuss marriage, and Chin Yaro's childhood sweetheart, Mu Chuchu, returned from abroad. The man who was always so composed and self-possessed seemed like a completely different person. All the tenderness Chin Yaro had once reserved for me was now lavished upon Mu Chuchu. He stopped chatting and sharing fun things with me. choosing instead to stay up all night hiking with Moo Choo Choo to watch the sunset. While I was sick with a high fever, he was out with Moo Choo Choo frantically attending concerts. He even forgot my birthday. He was too busy helping Moo Choo Choo's pet dog give birth, leaving me all alone at the restaurant. That was the day I stopped receiving flowers from Qin Yao, all because Moo Choo Choo is allergic to pollen. Choo Choo would be upset if she found out, and I don't want to hurt her feelings. We've argued about this countless times over the past 6 months. Every time, Qin Yao would swear with conviction, "I'm just taking care of Choo Choo like a little sister. Why do you have to be so jealous?" The fact that I can mention her openly and honestly proves there's nothing between us. Yet I, his fiancé, was always the one left behind. I've finally come to my senses. Love can't be hidden, and neither can the lack of it. Qin Yao, perhaps he never loved me at all, and I, who dreamed of a future with him, was just a pathetic joke. 3. Moo Choo Choo pouted and said she wanted to apologize to me. Sister Lu Jing, I really didn't mean to embarrass you. If it comes to it, I'll cut my hair too. To make it up to you. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her expression utterly sincere. I let out a soft chuckle. All right then, go ahead. Moo Choo Choo's expression froze for an instant. As long as you and Ayao don't fight over me and ruin your relationship, Sister Lu Zheng, I'm willing to do anything. Her eyes welled up with tears. Yet, the scissors in her hand remained poised, refusing to fall. Her pitiful expression tugged at Qin Yao's heartstrings. He immediately shot me a glare. As if I were his mortal enemy. Lu Zheng, if you have a problem, take it up with me. Choo Choo is my sister, we grew up together. Do you, as her sister-in-law, really have to deliberately embarrass her? I suddenly froze, a faint ache spreading through my chest. As expected, Moo Choo Choo is the one he will always protect, his unwavering favorite. I gave a bitter smile and stood up to leave. From behind me came Qin Yao's furious voice. It was just a bit of your stupid hair. If you want to leave, then get out. No one's going to put up with your rotten temper. So he had already forgotten. Before I fell in love with Qin Yao, I had always kept my hair in a short, no-nonsense style. It was his offhand comment, "I'd love to see you marry me with your hair flowing long." I started growing it out early, meticulously caring for it. Wanting to marry him looking my absolute best. But now it's all ruined. Boisterous laughter spilled out from behind the door. I should have been weeping in agony, on the verge of a breakdown, just like countless times before. Qin Yao's cold indifference left me breathless and trembling in pain, but in this moment, I feel not a trace of sorrow. I wiped my face, but it wasn't as cold as I had expected. I was finally free from that self-inflicted emotional entanglement. I took out my phone to call a ride home, but then, I saw a message from my advisor. He tried once again, with great earnestness, to persuade me to join the National Scientific Expedition Team. Actually, I received this invitation last year, but I turned it down, because once I joined, it would mean at least 3 years of constant travel, and I couldn't bear to be apart from Qin Yao. Upon learning the reason, my mentor was exasperated at my failure to live up to expectations. A man won't be moved because you gave up your career for him, he'll just think you're easier to fool. Lu Zheng, you'll regret this. At the time, I was utterly convinced of my choice. I believed in Qin Yao's love for me and simply wanted to live a happy, ordinary life with him. Little did I know, my words would come back to haunt me, leaving me utterly humiliated. So this time, I won't make the wrong choice again. When my advisor on the other end of the line learned I had agreed to join the research expedition, he immediately sent over the relevant materials without a second thought. They even called me specifically to remind me to expedite the paperwork. The expedition team is officially setting off in 2 weeks. Will you be ready in time? I replied with a smile. I won't hold up the main group for a second. That's more than enough time to call off an engagement. 4. I spent the whole evening preparing all the necessary paperwork. I was so completely absorbed that I didn't even notice when Qin Yao got back. I didn't look up until he was standing right in front of me. And even then, it was just a fleeting glance. Then I quickly lowered my head and went back to what I was doing. Qin Yao's expression instantly turned icy. Lu Zheng, I used to rush to him the moment he got home, but this time, I just kept typing away at my keyboard. He thought I was giving him the cold shoulder on purpose, his expression turning icy. I didn't stop what I was doing, just gave a half-hearted reply. Oh, you're back. Qin Yao froze for a moment, He had never been given the cold shoulder by me like this before, and his expression immediately turned somewhat annoyed. I didn't understand what he was so upset about. Is it because I didn't confront him about why he was late and throw a fit like I used to? Lu Zheng, can you stop being so petty? It's just a bit of hair, why do you have to keep harping on such a trivial thing? I got yelled at for no reason. In the past, I would have definitely had a big argument with Qin Yao, but now, I just gave a light chuckle. You've got it wrong, I'm not angry, just busy with work. My words cut off whatever Qin Yao was about to say next. He pressed his lips together and, for once, offered an explanation. I was a bit late because I had to see Chu home, she was drunk. And I couldn't just leave a girl alone at night. Don't get the wrong idea. I furrowed my brow and glanced at Qin Yao. I'm really not angry, and you don't need to explain yourself to me. Qin Yao froze for a moment. You're really not angry. I let out a soft chuckle. You two grew up together. It's only natural you'd help each other out. For a moment, a rare look of confusion crossed Qin Yao's face. I didn't pay it much mind. I walked right past Qin Yao, just as I reached the study door. Qin Yao's angry voice rang out behind me. Lu Zheng, what do you think you're doing? I've already explained it to you calmly and patiently. What's with the attitude now? I looked at him, completely baffled. What did I do now? I just wanted to go into the study to grab a document, that's all. But Qin Yao seemed utterly enraged. Lu Zheng, I really thought you had turned over a new leaf. It seems I was wrong about you. You stay home and think long and hard about what you've done. Until you truly understand your mistake, don't even think about marrying me at the wedding. There won't be any wedding. I've lost count of how many times Qin Yao and I have planned our wedding. Yet, we never managed to pull it off successfully. The first time, on the eve of the ceremony, Mu Chu scalded her hand. To care for her, Qin Yao callously chose to cancel everything. The second time we tried, Mu Chu deliberately fed me a cake laced with mango, causing a severe allergic reaction that left me unconscious and threw the entire event into chaos. For the third time, Mu Chu's hand slipped again, cutting my wedding dress to shreds, forcing the ceremony to be postponed once more. In the end, I was completely numb. So when Qin Yao brought up the wedding again this time, I instinctively didn't book a venue or tell any friends or family. Sure enough, my choice was the right one. Before me, Qin Yao let out a cold, scornful laugh, but he didn't leave. It wasn't until several minutes later that he finally slammed the door shut with a heavy thud and stormed off. I knew exactly what he was so angry about. It was rare for him to offer me an olive branch, and I actually refused it. I gave a faint, knowing smile. After compiling all the materials, I was ready to send them to my advisor for confirmation. My finger slipped, and I accidentally ended up on Mu Chu's social media feed. Just moments ago, she had posted a new update. In the video, Mu Chu is straddling Qin Yao's lap, the two of them drinking a ceremonial wedding toast in an intimate pose. Her crimson lips were just a hair's breadth away from meeting Jiang Yao's thin ones. The caption read, "Drink from my cup, and you're mine." Below, Qin Yao gave it a like. Their mutual friends were even more enthusiastic, flooding the comments with well wishes. At that moment, I felt like a mere spectator, surprisingly calm. I tapped the screen lightly and offered my sincere congratulations. Save me a seat at the wedding. 5. But then the next day came. To my surprise, Mu Chu actually deleted that little video. What was even stranger was that Qin Yao had breakfast specially delivered to me at the office. I looked at the soft, fragrant mango cake, gave a wry smile, and tossed it into the trash without a second thought. I'm allergic to mangoes. I told Qin Yao that on the very first day we started dating. But he never took it to heart, yet he never once forgot that Mu Chu is allergic to pollen. It's truly so obvious whether there's love or not, but none of it has anything to do with me anymore. Yet in the following days, Qin Yao seemed to have a change of heart. He started contacting me, which was completely out of character. The weather forecast says there's heavy rain tonight. Do you want me to come pick you up? I bought your favorite dessert and had it delivered to your office. Remember to sign for it. I went out of my way to have a high-quality wig custom ordered for you. I guarantee no one will be able to tell on the wedding day. That's more messages than you've sent me in the past 6 months combined. He even brought up getting our marriage license himself, 2 months ago. On our anniversary, I had mentioned it to him too, but Qin Yao stared at his phone with an impatient look. I have work to do. Don't bother me with such trivial matters. Are you that desperate to get married? Now, I'm busy preparing to join the scientific expedition team. I was swamped with handing over work, getting documents in order, and packing my things. I had no patience for his trivial little problems either. That was, until the day Chin Yaro suddenly showed up outside my office building. Without a word, he pulled me into his car. Not wanting to make a scene in front of my colleagues, I reluctantly agreed. It was time to have it out with him once and for all. I was practically dragged all the way to the hotel's private dining room. The room was already packed. Most of them were the same people who were egging things on in the comments section that day. The moment they saw me, every single one of them looked at me with utter disdain. Mu Chuchu was there too. Sister Lujing, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have slipped and shaved all your hair off that day. I know I was wrong, really. Please forgive me, okay, with her eyes glistening with tears. She looked at me earnestly and said she wanted to apologize. She also mentioned she had carefully picked out a gift for me. Since you're bald now and have no hair, you might catch a chill in the winter. I specially bought you a hat. It's from Hermes. It was a light green knitted cap, its color particularly vibrant. A sudden hush fell over the private room, broken by a derisive snort from somewhere. Well, look at the size of that cuckold's hat. The weight of their mocking stares bore down on me more intensely. Mu Chuchu, as if only just realizing, began to tear up. I was only thinking about making amends. I didn't consider that. Sister Lujing, I truly wasn't laughing at you. You must believe me. Her eyes were red-rimmed as she protested with a wounded air. Yet I saw right through her smugness and provocation in an instant. This was Mu Chuchu's usual tactic. She wanted to deliberately provoke me into losing my temper. Then wait for Chin Yaro to step in and teach me a lesson. But I stopped caring a long time ago. Thank you for the gift. I really like it. Meeting Mu Chuchu's astonished gaze, I gave a faint smile and accepted the gift, an 18,000 yuan Hermes hat. Even if I sold it for half price on a second-hand site, I'd still come out ahead. Chin Yaro was equally incredulous. He grabbed my arm, his eyes flustered. Chuchu treated you like that. Lu Zhang, why aren't you angry? Why aren't you throwing a fit and having a huge fight with me like you used to? I smiled calmly and said, how could you think that? In any case, she meant well. It's ironic, he was the one who used to be jealous, possessive, and couldn't stand anyone else. I've learned to be more understanding and forgiving. What's got you upset now? Fine, Lu Zhang. Keep up the act if you're so brave. Chin Yaro stood up abruptly, took the red cord from his wrist, and without hesitation, placed it on Mu Chuchu's hand. I was taken aback. That red cord, I was the one who gave it to Chin Yaro. A year ago, he collapsed from overwork at the office and was rushed straight to the hospital. The critical condition notice was issued multiple times. Everyone was convinced he would never wake up. I was the only one who refused to give up. I climbed 9,000 stone steps, kowtowing with each one, my knees blooded, to pray for a protective talisman for him. The night I carefully tied the red thread around Chin Yaro's wrist, he miraculously awoke, but I, exhausted beyond measure, developed myocarditis and nearly lost my life. After learning the whole story, Chin Yaro held me tight, vowing to cherish me for a lifetime and promising never to remove the red thread, and now, right before my eyes, he is giving that very red thread, the one I paid for with my life, to Mu Chuchu. Someone in the crowd recognized it immediately. Isn't that the peace bracelet from Hansan Temple? You have to piously kneel and climb every single stone step to earn one. So it really is only you, Chuchu, who holds Brother Chin's true heart. This public display of affection came out of nowhere. I was right there in the room, yet they only grew more brazen. As if they wanted to tear open my wounds, Chin Yaro shot a deliberate glance my way. My eyelids fluttered slightly as I offered a smile and my blessing. Childhood sweethearts. A match made in heaven, indeed. The words had barely left my lips. Chin Yaro whirled around. Her gaze held a flicker of disbelief and a trace of panic. Only Mu Chuchu beamed, her eyes crinkling into happy crescents. A slow, provocative smile curled her lips as she shot a challenging look. Sister Lujing, please don't blame me, Yao. He's just overly concerned about me. I don't mean to flaunt anything. It's just, we've been childhood sweethearts for so many years. It's a bond you could never hope to match. Shut up. Take off that red cord and give it back to me. A frantic cry cut through the boastful display. Everyone in the private room was stunned. Even I was shocked. It was Chin Yaro's furious roar. Chin Yaro, who had always been utterly devoted to Muchuchu, was actually yelling at someone. Yao, Muchuchu was startled, her eyes instantly welling up, glittering tears brimmed in her eyes, threatening to fall. Qin Yao's tone softened at once. Chuchu. I don't mean to be harsh with you, it's just that this red string, it's far too old and dirty for someone like you. It doesn't suit you. I'll get you more expensive and beautiful jewelry another day to make up for it. He coaxed her in a gentle tone, yet his hands never stopped moving. In the blink of an eye, he had snatched the red string from Muchuchu's wrist and fastened it back onto his own. He even made a point of swaying it gently in front of me a couple of times. I just offered a polite acknowledgement and went back to focusing on my food. Once I join the research expedition, delicacies like these will be a thing of the past for me. I'd better make the most of it and treat myself properly first. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Qin Yao's expression, which had just improved, instantly darkened again. Muchuchu's expression wasn't looking too good either. She pursed her lips, her gaze flickering slightly, and suddenly offered to toast me. Sister Luzheng, I'm sincerely apologizing to you. You wouldn't deny me this chance, would you? She took the initiative, rising to her feet and picking up the wine glass, but as she moved closer to me, she suddenly cried out in pain, "Ah, my hand!" Before I could even process what was happening, the glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The shards of glass cut her finger. It hurts, Yao. Please don't blame Sister Luzheng. She might have just been overwhelmed for a moment. I understand. She blinked lightly, her face a picture of restrained forbearance and resignation. Her utterly pitiful look tugged at the heartstrings. Qin Yao's heart ached instantly. He pulled her into his arms, comforting her without pause. Don't cry, Chuchu. I'll take you to the hospital right now. He turned his head and shot me a resentful glare before turning away with Muchuchu and leaving. In the blink of an eye, the whole crowd swarmed away and was gone. I was the only one left in the private room, all by myself. I calmly remained in my seat, my chopsticks never pausing as I continued to pick up food. At one point, I left the room to inquire and found out the bill had already been settled by someone else. No need to be the sucker who gets stuck with the check. You can still enjoy a whole table of delicious food to your heart's content. What a fantastic deal. 6. In the days that followed, I've packed my schedule. I'm about to go abroad, so farewell dinners with friends and colleagues are a must. Just got off work and heading to a goodbye dinner. Then, Qin Yao called, go home and get some of my daily toiletries, then bring them to the hospital. I have to look after Chuchu and can't get away. I was stunned for a long moment. Several days had passed without any contact. I had completely forgotten about Qin Yao's existence. It seems he's been spending all his time with Muchuchu these days, never once coming home. If only he had stepped into that so-called marital home just once, he would have found that all my belongings had long since been cleared out. Noticing my prolonged silence on the other end of the line, Qin Yao's tone grew impatient. Luzheng, haven't you had enough of your little tantrum these past few days? Don't forget, you're the one who hurt Chuchu. My staying by her side all this time is to atone for your sin. I smiled. Qin Yao, you've told so many lies that you've even started to believe them yourself. Let's not even get into Muchuchu's clumsy, self-orchestrated little frame-up. But even if we entertain that absurd notion, even if she were actually hurt, couldn't you find any other female friends to help? It's not that hard to hire a caregiver, is it? Does he, a man with a fiancée, really need to be hovering around? Stop using a righteous facade to cover up your despicable and dirty deeds. But Qin Yao didn't see it that way. Enough, Luzheng. When did you become so vicious? You hurt Chuchu and show not a shred of remorse. He lashed out at me in a fury. Don't you dare come back for the next few days. Go and reflect on what you've done. We'll talk about rescheduling the wedding when you've finally realized your mistake. No, Qin Yao, there won't be a wedding. Luzheng, what's with the attitude this time? What I mean is, let's break up. I clenched my fist, cutting him off, my tone flat. I packed my things and moved out a couple of days ago. I've already explained everything to my parents. As for your mom and dad, you can handle that yourself. As I was getting ready to leave, I had never felt so clear-headed in my life. While packing my bags, I told my parents about all my plans. They learned that I was going to break off my engagement to Qin Yao. Their first reaction was a pang of heartache. Zheng, just how much pain did you endure to come to this decision? No one knows a daughter like her parents. how deeply I cared for Qin Yaro in the past. They saw it all, and when I told them about the interruption of joining the expedition team, they were even more wholeheartedly supportive. So, Qin Yaro, from now on, we have nothing to do with each other. But Qin Yaro clearly didn't believe it. I know this trick, it's the play hard to get routine you see on TV. His voice on the other end of the line dripped with undisguised sarcasm. Lu Zheng, we've been together for almost 5 years, and you're pulling this stunt. Are you waiting for me to grovel and win you back later? Look at your age, how childish can you be? So, Qin Yaro was aware of it too, that we had spent every single day of those 5 years together. A full 5 years, you'd get attached to a dog in that time. So why does he keep hurting me, over and over, without a shred of remorse? Let me clarify, we never got a marriage license. Legally speaking, we're just boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't need your approval or permission to break up, I told him with a light laugh. Besides, you can't have forgotten, at our previous engagement party, because Mu Chuchu suddenly got the urge to travel, you left all the guests behind without a second thought. The ceremony wasn't even completed in the end. To put it bluntly, we can't even be considered fiancés. Qin Yaro, you and I have been over for a long time, I knew it. You're still jealous about what happened at the engagement party. Qin Yaro snapped angrily. Haven't I already explained this to you? Chuchu has no sense of direction. I couldn't just let her go out alone. I've only ever treated her like a little sister. Lu Zheng, how twisted is your mind to think something so vile about me and Chuchu? Apologize properly right now, and I'll forgive you, otherwise, you'll live to regret this. For the first time, a feeling I could only call absurd welled up in my chest. I can't remember which book I read it in. It said that people in love always unconsciously idealize their partner. I must have been blind back then. Once the rose-tinted glasses came off, I realized Qin Yaro wasn't worth a shred of my affection. I didn't bother arguing with him any further. I simply hung up the phone, clean and quick. Then, I blocked every single one of his contact methods. It's about time. 7. I've been having a wonderful time every day before going abroad, hanging out with friends, eating, drinking, and having a blast. It's been so carefree and fun. When they found out I was joining the research expedition, even though they were really reluctant to see me go, they all sent their well wishes. Our first real scientist in the friend group. Say no more. That's awesome. Am I gonna see you on TV someday? Come on. Give me your autograph now. I'm keeping it as a family heirloom. Me too. Me too. Lu Zheng, you better not forget about me once you're off on your new adventure. We stumbled out of the KTV, laughing and joking. One colleague was completely wasted and made a beeline for the main road as soon as we left. I was so startled that I quickly yanked him back to my side. But we hadn't gone more than a few steps when a grim voice came from behind us. Lu Zheng, so this is why you were so insistent on breaking up with me. You already had someone new waiting in the wings. I looked up and saw Qin Yaro storming toward me, his face flushed with anger, and right beside him was Mu Chuchu. The moment she spotted me, she let out a feigned gasp of alarm and exclaimed, Sister Lu Zheng, it's pitch black out here at this hour. Instead of going home to rest, you're out here getting all handsy with some man. What kind of behavior is this? Aero has been so worried about you he can't eat or sleep, and this is how you repay him, betraying him like this. That's just cruel. You're practically engaged. How can you face Aero after this, with all the devotion he's shown you? The tone was coquettish yet scolding. It sounded like well-meaning advice on the surface, but every word was dripping with slut-shaming. I laughed. I let out a bitter, mirthless laugh. I was about to speak when the person in my arms was already coiled and ready to strike. Well, would you look at that, a genuine masterclass in playing the innocent victim. Lu Zheng was just helping me up because I was drunk. How did that turn into some unforgivable crime in your minds? To the point where you'd want her drawn and quartered on the spot. Open your damn eyes and get a good look. I have short hair, but I'm a woman. I'm not Lu Zheng's secret lover. And even if I were a man, so what? Just because she gave me a hand, that makes us some kind of sleazy, illicit couple. You brainless idiots, I chimed in from the side. Well, what can you do? Some people have a history, so of course their minds go straight to the gutter. Lu Zheng, why on earth are you picking on Chuchu for no reason? Qin Yaro frowned and pulled the teary-eyed young woman behind him in a protective gesture. She's just concerned about us and standing up for me, that's all. Oh my god, a world-class, blind, stupid scumbag. I've finally seen one in the flesh. The colleague sneered and continued the tirade. Didn't get a proper beating last time, so you're itching for another one, is that it? So you're not just an idiot, you're stone deaf too. I was the one insulting your little sweetheart. So why are you throwing a useless tantrum at Lu Zheng, when your pathetic little sweetheart was bad-mouthing Lu Zheng? You didn't say a damn word. But the moment Lu Zheng states a few simple facts, you're all up in arms defending her, and you have the nerve to come here and question Lu Zheng. You biased, rotten scumbag, even a dog would find you filthy. The moment the words hung in the air, Qin Yao was stunned into stillness by the verbal assault. His female colleague had just laid bare his blatant favoritism, leaving his face deathly pale. It's not like that, Lu Zheng, his lips parted, a sound catching in his throat as if he were about to offer some defense, but I turned and walked away without a moment's hesitation. I had long since lost any desire to hear it. I gave him plenty of chances before, he never appreciated any of them. I suppose he doesn't need them now. I don't want to waste any more time or energy on someone like that. Besides, their retribution is yet to come. 8. The day Mu Chuchu shaved my head, not only did she take an unflattering photo of me, but she also documented the whole ordeal and posted it on her social media feed, probably to maintain her innocent, harmless image in front of Qin Yao. She had a lot of people blocked from seeing it, but she forgot that I had once added her using a secondary account. Back then, I was completely in the dark about the whole mess between her and Qin Yao. I just wanted to get along with my boyfriend's female friend, that's all, and so, that little video, dripping with mockery and scorn, fell into my hands. The chain of evidence was rock solid. I promptly filed a lawsuit against Mu Chuchu, a clear-cut case of defamation. She won't get away with it, of course. That's not enough. As it happens, my previous job was at a media company. With the help of my former employer, Mu Chuchu, and I landed directly on the local trending news. Everyone was stunned by Mu Chuchu's shameless actions. Holy crap, maliciously shaving the bride bald on the eve of the wedding. Even an animal wouldn't do something like that. That's too much. If it were me, I can't even imagine how devastated I would be. If it weren't for this screen between us, I'd charge right in and slap her. This time, I'm going to unleash the power of online harassment and socially annihilate that woman, Mu Chuchu. This went on for several days in a row. The hype just wouldn't die down. I've become the internet's most pitiful bride-to-be. I've received an outpouring of sympathy and pity. When I'm recognized on the street, I can't escape the gossip, but I don't let any of it bother me. Anyway, I'm leaving with the research team soon, so I'm going all out. Besides, I'm not the one who did anything wrong. What do I have to be afraid of? Of course, the other party involved was too flustered to sit still. Lu Zheng, have you lost your mind? All I did was shave your head. Are you really going to make such a big deal out of it? Just you wait. Yao dotes on me so much. When he finds out how you've wronged me, he'll make you pay for this. You wretch. As netizens dug deeper into the matter, Mu Chuchu's personal information had long since been completely exposed. Living in constant fear, she took her anger out on me. Her mouth was full of vile, abusive language. I remained silent. After calmly finishing the recording, they went online and immediately dropped a new piece of evidence. And so, the outcry from netizens grew even louder, and right at that moment, I got another call from Qin Yao. 8. Even though I had already blocked him, and had changed my phone number in advance, I don't know how Qin Yao managed it, but he found me again. I'm sorry, Lu Zheng. I truly had no idea you'd endured so much injustice. On the other end of the line, he lowered his proud head for the first time and apologized to me. He said he genuinely hadn't known before that Mu Chuchu had shaved my head out of pure malice. Mu Chuchu claimed it was just a clumsy slip of the hand. Out of trust for his childhood friend of many years, he chose to believe her. It wasn't until he heard that phone recording, laced with vile curses, that he realized he had placed his trust in the wrong person. Qin Yao said he had been deceived by Mu Chuchu's act of feigned innocence. He is a victim too, Lu Zheng. I'm sorry, this is all my fault. I've put you through so much pain. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. He apologized to me in a panic, his voice choked with regret. We've been together for 5 years. If it weren't for Mu Chuchu, I would have married you a long time ago. Listening to the man's every word dripping with regret, I almost laughed out loud. Even now, Qin Yao's so-called apology is nothing but shifting all the blame onto Mu Chuchu. But who was it that abandoned me in the desolate outskirts just to pick up his childhood sweetheart from the airport, and whose passenger seat had a reserved for choo-choo note stuck to it, while his own motion-sick girlfriend wasn't even allowed to sit there? And who was it that enabled your childhood sweetheart to slip sleeping pills into my warm milk, all to facilitate that absurd little prank? Qin Yao, you are not innocent in this, so spare me the crocodile tears, and I never expected, nor wanted, some grand, dramatic chase Matil I forgive you spectacle. What we had, it was over the moment I walked out that door, head bare and covered in wounds. Lu Zheng, please believe me, I truly regret what I've done. There's really nothing between me and Mu Chuchu. I was just vain, basking in her admiration. Looking out for her is just a habit from growing up together. The only person I've ever truly loved is you. I bought you the most expensive, realistic-looking wig. If you don't want it, I'll shave my head to be with you. Please, I'm begging you, don't leave me. On the other end of the line, Qin Yao was still stubbornly pleading. I had no patience left to keep listening. I hung up the phone and, once again, deleted and blocked the number. Then, pushing my luggage, I headed straight for the departure gate without a moment's hesitation. 9. After disembarking from the plane, after a brief rest, I immediately joined the scientific expedition team. I was constantly on the move with the main group, the signal was spotty, and I often lost contact with people back home. It wasn't until over half a year later, once I was fully settled, that I finally reconnected with my old friends. They all knew I had been framed by Mu Chuchu, so she couldn't wait to share the news of her miserable fate with me. Lu Zheng, you'll never guess, Mu Chuchu has been arrested. It turns out all those years, Mu Chuchu used studying abroad as an excuse. In reality, she went to chase after a rich second-generation heir. She was dead set on becoming a wealthy socialite, but it turned out he was just toying with her. Even though Mu Chuchu deliberately got pregnant, hoping to secure her status through the child, the other party simply refused to acknowledge it. By the time she carried the baby to full term and gave birth, Mu Chuchu was filled with regret, but it was already too late. In her shame and fury, she came to see the child as nothing but a burden. After maliciously drowning the child, she swiftly went through the procedures to return to her home country, pretending as if nothing had happened. However, she underestimated the protections for minors abroad. She ended up getting a pair of shiny silver bracelets, i.e., handcuffs. As for Qin Yao, that scumbag is about to die. Serves him right. A few months ago, Qin Yao dramatically collapsed at his workstation due to excessive drinking. This time, although he was rushed to the hospital promptly, he was beyond saving due to the lingering effects of his previous serious illness. He probably only has a few days left. Even heaven can't stand the sight of him. He deserves it. In a daze, I remembered the promise he made to me that year in the hospital room, as he tied on the red string. Lu Zheng, if I ever treat you poorly and break your heart, may I be condemned to the 18 layers of hell, suffering for all eternity. This is just fine. I guess I kept my word. Story 2. On the eve of the National College entrance examination, the male god I had a crush on turned into a hamster. He was like a soft glutinous rice ball. I couldn't help but need him, and he opened his mouth and bit me. Don't touch me, he warned me harshly. Later, he turned back into the cold and aloof academic god, but I took the initiative to stay away from him. However, he leaned his head over and said haughtily, "Touch me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day." Now the story begins. My name is Yang Jiao, and I'm an ordinary senior high school student in grade 3. Every day after school and on my way home, I have to pass by the flower and bird market downstairs. Until that day, all the peace was broken by a scream. "Damn hamster, don't come near me." I stopped. The voice was so familiar. I looked around but didn't see that familiar figure. Go away, don't poop beside me, damn it." I came to a complete stop. This was definitely the voice of Liang Yuxing. I scanned around a few times and finally fixed my eyes on that nest of hamsters. I saw a small golden hamster scurrying around in the box. It was frantically stepping on the heads of other hamsters to climb up, and its little feet were pedaling so fast that they seemed to be spinning like a whirlwind. I heard it shouting, "Help, help, why does it stink so much?" I squatted down and pushed it, which had climbed to the edge of the box, back into the group of hamsters. Sure enough, I heard it cursing loudly. "You blind thing, Go to hell. I was amused by its chattering voice. After all, this was a huge contrast to him. Liang Yuxing, is that you? I asked softly. I spent the money for a week's worth of breakfast to rescue Liang Yuxing from that nest of hamsters. To prevent my mother from finding out, I could only keep him in my room. I made a small nest for him out of a showbox, lined it with a layer of wood shavings, and used 2 bottle caps to hold his food and water. You seem to be quite poor, he said. I don't have enough money, I explained. He snorted and rolled around in the wood shavings a few times. So cute, I really wanted to need him. I couldn't control myself and started to pet him. He gave me a bite with a woof sound. Don't touch me. Sorry. I withdrew my hand sheepishly. What's your name again? He poked his head out of the wood shavings and looked at me. I said helplessly, my name is Yang Jiao. We've been classmates for 3 years. After all, as expected, he had no impression of me at all. Oh Tilda, I know you. You're one of the only 2 senior 3 students in the class who got the exemption from living on campus. Because the other one is me, he said proudly, in a tone as if he had just solved a difficult math problem. My eyes lit up. He still remembered me. Every day after the evening self-study at 9 o'clock, a few scattered day students would leave the school in groups. Only I deliberately dawdled and walked behind him while wearing headphones. His family's driver would pick him up at the school gate and take him home. I would walk to the bus stop to wait for the last bus. When I was lucky, his car window would open as it passed by, and I could catch a glimpse of his cold side profile. But why can you hear me talking? He chewed on the small cookies. I don't know, but why did you turn into a hamster? I lay on the table and looked at him. I woke up like this in the morning, he said in a puzzled tone. His movement of eating cookies even stopped, and his cheeks were puffed out. No wonder you didn't come to class today. The classmates were all saying that you transferred to another school. Bullshit. I feel like I'm dreaming. He started chewing again. I couldn't help but laugh softly. I had never expected Liang Yuxing to talk so much. He usually came and went alone at school and was very mysterious. Except for being called by the teacher to answer questions in class, few people ever heard him speak. But it's good like this. I'm free, he said as he crunched on the cookies. I was surprised and said, but we're about to take the National College Entrance Examination. Aren't you worried? I've already been guaranteed admission, he said. I really shouldn't have asked that. Thank you for helping me, classmate Yang Jiao, he said. You're welcome. I waved my hand. After he had eaten and drunk his fill, he yawned, burrowed into the wood shavings, and went to sleep, his soft body curled up into a ball. The alarm clock showed that it was almost 12 o'clock. The faint moonlight outside the window fell in front of the desk. I stretched out my finger to poke him, but there was no response. I poked him again, and he turned over. He was sound asleep. I gently turned off the table lamp. Good night, Liang Yuxing. Now I can't wait to run home as soon as school is over every day. I have to feed my hamster. Oh, no, I have to feed Liang Yuxing. You're a bit late coming back today. He poked his head out of the small box where he was sleeping. That was the small nest I made for him out of a milk carton. I handed him a blueberry I bought and explained, Old you asked us to do a test paper today, so I'm late. He held the blueberry and took 2 bites. Let me see. I hesitated because my math test paper was still 3 points short of a passing grade. While he usually scored close to full marks, I won't laugh at you. He saw through my hesitation at a glance. Okay, I said, after he finished half of the blueberry. He wiped his hands and feet. He was so cute. Put me on the table, he said. Okay. I reached my hand into the showbox, and he climbed onto my palm. He was so soft. I carefully placed him on the desk and spread the test paper out in front of him. He lay on the desk and took a couple of looks. I heard him dryly laugh twice. He stood up, stretched out his little hand, and pointed at a multiple-choice question on the test paper. Classmate Yang Jiao. We learned the solution to this function problem in our first year of senior high school. I scratched my nose. My foundation isn't very good. He nodded. You're really a bit silly. Silence is the Cambridge tonight. This sentence is a reference to Xu Zhimo's poem, here used to describe the awkward silence. I'll teach you. Maybe I'll have to rely on you for the rest of my hamster life. He sighed. Great, I said happily. From that day on, I prepared a straw for Liang Yuxing as a teaching stick. He held the straw and poked at the test paper. Do you understand this question? I nodded repeatedly. Liang Yuxing was really smart. Unlike most academic gods, he could fully understand and teach those with lower levels. After explaining a physics test paper, I felt refreshed and fully understood everything. He plopped down on the desk and sat there. I'm so tired, he groaned and rubbed his head. I feel like we're acting out a story from Strange Tales from a Lonely Studio. I couldn't help but say. He glanced at me, and I smiled. I'm the scholar going to take the imperial examination. I'm not a fairy. He turned his back to me and raised his two little hands angrily. I want to eat chestnuts, he said. I took a candied chestnut and handed it to him. He held it and gnawed on it. His back moved as he ate. He seemed to have gained a lot of weight. He was already as big as one of my palms and was like a ball. I couldn't help but poke him. My classmates said that your parents applied for a long leave for you because you're sick. What kind of illness? He turned around and asked. I don't know. The head teacher said that he would organize student representatives to visit you. But your parents said that you're still in a coma and it's not suitable for a visit. He seemed to be deep in thought. My parents are back. Rare. Do you live alone? I asked. He hummed in agreement. I caught a cold and went to bed early that day. Maybe I had a fever in the middle of the night and my soul left my body. I suddenly understood. Can this be explained by quantum mechanics? He was taken aback, and I said weakly, didn't they say, when in doubt, use quantum mechanics, it's more reliable to be like in Liaozhai, he replied. I burst out laughing. Suddenly, there was a rapid knock on the door. Judgia, you're still awake. Didn't I say that you're not allowed to lock the door? Open it quickly. It was my mother who came back. I quickly put Liang Yuxing into the showbox and covered it with the lid. The knocking on the door became more and more urgent. I opened the bedroom door in a flurry. Mom, my mother pushed me aside and strode in. She looked around warily. I was terrified. The showbox was still on the table. Who were you talking to on the phone? Didn't I say that with the college entrance examination coming up soon, you should focus? She walked to the table, pulled the curtains shut with a swish, and her gaze fell on the showbox on the table. Mom, I suddenly let out a scream. There's a cockroach at your feet. My mother was startled by my shout. Where is it? I pointed at the space under the bed in a flurry. It crawled in. It crawled in. My mother walked over angrily and slapped me. Don't make a fuss. She went to the living room to get the insecticide. I immediately stuffed the showbox into the quilt and hid it. Then I turned around and pretended to tidy up the homework on the table. You're so old and still afraid of cockroaches. I've told you that the insecticide is in the cabinet under the TV. You should spray it from time to time. As my mother sprayed the insecticide, she said, after you finish the college entrance examination, my task will be completed. You'll go to university. And I'll live in the dormitory of my work unit. I'll sell this old house and buy you an apartment with an elevator in the future. I quickly said, Mom, go take a shower. I've already boiled the water for you. My mother stood up and rubbed her shoulders wearily. All right, open the door and the windows to let in some air. I'll heat up some milk for you. Drink it before you go to sleep. I massaged her shoulders and back and pushed her towards the door, acting coquettishly. Thank you, Mom. I can do it myself. Before my mother entered the bathroom, she still didn't forget to remind me. Remember, you can only heat the milk in a porcelain bowl. Stay away from the microwave when heating it. You'll be a college student soon. Don't you know there's radiation? I immediately moved far away from the microwave and said I understood. When I saw her close the bathroom door, I finally let out a sigh of relief. Liang Yuxing. Are you okay? I quickly ran into the bedroom and took out the showbox. As soon as I opened the lid, the water and food in the bottle were all spilled over. I saw him lying slumped on the wood shavings, curled up into a ball. Half of his fur was wet, and his small pink hands and feet were curled up in front of his chest. He looked like he was about to die. His voice trembled. Maybe. Can I sue you for animal abuse? I put my hands together. Sorry. I quickly made a new home for him. As if resigned to his fate, he let me hold him in my hands and knead him. Classmate Yang Jiao, I have to remind you that you don't need to wipe some parts so carefully. He covered his face with his hands. Classmate Liang Yuxing, you're just a hamster now. If I don't dry you, I'm afraid you'll get sick, I said. I changed to a dry towel and wiped him again, then put him into his new nest. He turned around a few times in the new nest. It seems that I can't see the light when I'm with you. Your mother probably won't like you having a hamster. My mother doesn't like me keeping any small animals. I once wanted to adopt a kitten that was abandoned by its mother cat. My mother said that if I did, she would abandon me just like the kitten was abandoned by its mother. I soothed him. Just make do with it for now. I'll take you with me when I go to university. There was a hint of a smile in his voice. Is this a promise? I nodded solemnly, of course. As soon as the bell rang for the end of the noon school day, a group of people swarmed towards the cafeteria. The air conditioner in the classroom was cool. The small fan in front of me was turning in circles, blowing the stray hairs and fine sweat on my forehead. My hand ached from holding the pen. I shook my wrist and continued to do the questions. The clock ticked on silently. Occasionally, I could hear the sound of a few classmates in the classroom turning the pages of their test papers. After finishing 2 test papers, I circled a few questions with unclear knowledge points to reinforce them. I reached out my hand to the desk drawer. There was still a stack of test papers issued today. Judgia, let's go eat. My deskmate Jiang Rong gently patted my shoulder. Okay. There were only some leftovers in the cafeteria, and they didn't look appetizing at all. Jiang Rong and I went to the 3rd floor to buy handheld pancakes and sat under the magnolia tree on the playground to enjoy the cool breeze. Judgia, I find that you're really hardworking. Jiang Rong took a bite of the pancake in her hand. After a pause, she added, you definitely have no problem getting into a prestigious university. I smiled shyly. I can't get such a high score. She clenched her fist and said, there are still 2 months left. Believe in yourself. I nodded in agreement. Now I not only have to work hard for my mother and my future but also fulfill my promise to Liang Yuxing. Let's go back to the classroom. I stood up. Jiang Rong shook her head. You really don't take a break at all. I smiled. There's still the last mock exam. The slow bird should start flying early. Just as we were talking and laughing, I suddenly saw a very familiar Bentley. 2 people got out of the car. They were Liang Yuxing's parents. The dean of students was leading them upstairs. Liang Yuxing's parents were both tall and thin. They were dressed in black and had serious expressions. My heart skipped a beat. Could something have happened to Liang Yuxing? Jiang Rong was surprised and said, aren't those the parents of the academic god? Are they going to the principal's office? I followed them on an impulse. Sneakily, I followed them to the 5th floor. I saw that they indeed entered the principal's office, and the door wasn't fully closed. I sneaked over to the side. My palms were sweating nervously. The school is really sorry about Liang Yuxing's matter. We also hope that he can wake up soon. If there's anything the school can do to cooperate and help, we'll do it without hesitation. The principal said, Principal Dong, you're too kind. We'll take him to a hospital outside the province. When the child wakes up, he won't come back to school. I hope we can sort out the transfer of his student status clearly. Liang Yuxing's parents said, of course, of course. When I heard them getting up, I immediately ran downstairs. My heart was pounding as if it was about to jump out. After school, I pushed open the bedroom door without even having time to change my shoes and poked Liang Yuxing, who was sleeping. Awake. Your parents are going to take you away. He opened his eyes sleepily. Huh. I repeated what had happened today to him. He let out an "oh" and slowly climbed into the running wheel to start his exercise for the day. Aren't you worried that you'll keep being in a coma and won't be able to change back? I asked him, how many years is a person's lifespan? He asked me while panting as he ran. I didn't understand why he asked that, but I still replied, about 80 years if there's no accident. What about a hamster? He asked again. 2 or 3 years. So I'll be free in 2 or 3 years instead of having to endure for 80 years. I didn't know how to respond to that for a moment. I watched as he finished his exercise for the day. Then he went to drink water and carefully groomed his fur. Isn't it good to be a human? Besides, you're Liang Yuxing. I asked in confusion. He smiled. You're not a fish. How do you know the joy of a fish? Besides, it's really good now. You're taking care of me. And you can talk to me. My greatest pleasure every day is waiting for you to come back. Hearing him say that, I proudly puffed out my chest. That's true. I'll take good care of you. I took out the melon seed kernels I had bought from my school bag, honey-flavored. I want the sea salt flavor next time, he said, lowering his head and nibbling on the melon seed kernels. Okay, I stroked him, and he didn't resist. I suddenly thought that this wasn't so bad either. The weather became hotter and more sweltering. The high pressure of the college entrance examination hung over every student, making everyone sweat. At noon, no one left the classroom anymore. The small fan in front of us kept turning non-stop, and bread and cookies had become everyone's regular meal. My mother took a leave from her work unit. She cooked for me every day and brought me a packed lunch. She would ride an electric scooter to pick me up and take me home without fail, rain or shine. I was completely stunned when I saw the results of the mock exam. It was still some distance from the score I had expected, and it was even lower than my score in the first mock exam. Old Ju called me to the office before the evening self-study. He said that I had been studying too nervously recently and comforted me to relax my mind and not put too much pressure on myself. I agreed to everything he said. It was only after I came out of the office that I hid in the restroom and cried. I had always known that I didn't have high learning aptitude and could only make up for it with hard work, but I just wanted to be a little better than my former self. Was it really that impossible? After the evening self-study, my mother didn't come to pick me up. She must have learned about my grades from the head teacher. I didn't know how to face her, so I dawdled all the way to the downstairs of my home. I suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar showbox stuffed in the trash can. Ignoring the dirt, I quickly went over and picked it up. The wood shavings and food inside were dirty and scattered in a mess. Liang Yuxing wasn't there. I looked up. On the 4th floor, the light in my bedroom was on. A bad premonition welled up in my heart. "Mom, what are you doing?" I quickly walked into the room. She had cleaned my bedroom inside and out. "Mom, did you throw away my showbox?" I asked. "So what if I did?" she said with a cold face. "Where's my hamster?" My voice trembled. She threw the mop in her hand forcefully and shouted shrilly, "Yang Jiao, have you grown so bold? Look at your scores yourself. How can you be half-hearted and imitate others by keeping a pet? If you can't get into a university, it'll be hard for you to support yourself." Tears welled up in my eyes involuntarily. "Where did you throw my hamster?" "It was eaten by a wild cat." "What else are you asking for? I've been working so hard to take care of you every day. Have you ever asked me a word? I've spent half my life for you. If you can't get into a good school, your life will be ruined. You might as well stop studying." My heart ached as if it was being fried and burned by fire. My hot tears blurred my vision. "I didn't ask you to do it for me. I wanted to go with my dad in the first place. It was you who insisted on making me stay by your side." My mother was so angry that her emotions flared up. "You ungrateful wretch. Do you think your dad and that woman will treat you well? Why are you so unreasonable?" I vented uncontrollably. "Yes, I don't want them to be good to me. At least I won't be a burden to you. I've never dared to make you dissatisfied or unhappy because I know you've done everything for me. But I'm really tired. I'd rather die." Slap. A clear slap landed on my face. My face suddenly burned and swelled up. There was a buzzing sound in my ears, and I was completely stunned. "From now on, I won't care about you anymore." My mother picked up the mop and rushed into the bathroom to rinse it. The sound of running water was very loud. I cried hysterically for a while. Suddenly, I remembered something. I immediately raised my hand to dry my tears. Liang Yuxing. I checked under the bed and in the cabinet, but he wasn't there. I had to go out and look for him. I ran to the garbage bin downstairs. The garbage truck had already finished collecting the trash. I called his name anxiously. "Liang Yuxing, where are you? Are you in there, little girl? Get out of the way. The truck is reversing." The driver reminded me. "Liang Yuxing." I started shouting, feeling extremely flustered. There were many wild cats in the neighborhood, and he would be in great danger if he was outside. The garbage truck drove away, and my tears poured down. I walked through several streets and alleys but couldn't find him. I had killed him. All the bitterness and sadness I had experienced today welled up together. I squatted on the ground and couldn't stop crying. I even thought it was an illusion when Liang Yuxing called me several times. Yang Jiao, a small, dirty thing appeared in front of me. I wiped my tears hard and finally saw that it was Liang Yuxing. His fur was all wet, clumped together, and there were some rotten vegetable leaves stuck to it. He looked pitiful and funny. I reached out my hand to pick him up, and he jumped onto it. He said in a trembling voice, "Stop crying, I won't die, sorry." I sobbed and apologized. "What are you sorry for? I'm still alive, aren't I?" He shivered and curled up. "Take me home quickly. I stink. I'll hide you well this time." I choked out, "Okay." He fell asleep in my palm. It took a week for Liang Yuxing to regain his vitality, and his fur finally became shiny and smooth. I made a semi-open nest for him. If my mother found out again, the new home would be more convenient for him to escape. I also quickly got over the failure in the mock exam and focused on preparing for the college entrance examination, which was less than 30 days away. Liang Yuxing accompanied me to do my homework until very late every day. One late night, I was so sleepy that I squinted on the table for a while. He lay on my arm and slept soundly. After that, he developed a habit of lying on my arm to sleep every day. The moonlight outside the window was bright, and the street was very quiet. The clock showed 1 o'clock. The hissing sound of the current from the table lamp and the rustling sound of the pen on the paper were clearly audible. I stopped writing only when the ink in the pen ran out. "You got all the answers right this time," Liang Yuxing said, stretching himself. I didn't know when he woke up, really. My eyes lit up. "When you're not so tense, you can answer the questions very smoothly." He yawned and raised his pink paws to wash his face. Suddenly, there was a knock on the bedroom door. I quickly covered Liang Yuxing in my hand. "Go to bed early. I've put your packed lunch in your bag. There's also a pack of nuts to boost your brain power. Remember to eat them at school," my mother said. "Okay, thank you, Mom," I replied. In the past few days, my mother and I had fallen into a cycle of being at odds with each other. I wanted to apologize to her but couldn't bring myself to do it, besides cooking for me. She didn't pay much attention to me either. "Your mother is so good to you, unlike my parents," Liang Yuxing muttered. I thought about it seriously and replied, "Because you're very independent and can do everything well, you don't need anyone to worry about you." Suddenly, he jumped onto the table. "Can you open the window a little?" I opened the window halfway. A cool breeze blew in, and the bright moonlight fell softly. Liang Yuxing looked up at the moon. "Actually, when I was sick that day, I could have called the hospital myself, but I didn't want to." "Why?" I asked. He lay on the table. "Because I wanted them to come back and see me, and I also wanted them not to get a divorce, so that's how it was." No wonder he wasn't in a hurry to change back at all. The academic god, who was usually omnipotent, was showing his vulnerability. I didn't know how to comfort him. Before I could find the right words to say, he rolled on the table. So embarrassing. Why do I talk so much after becoming a hamster? Atilda. I was amused by him. But this is very real. Do you feel happy? Of course. He got up. And because I met you, I feel free. He climbed into my palm. "Thank you, Yang Jiao." "You're welcome," I said. He wriggled his chubby body. "Then you can touch me for a while." I blushed and laughed. I held him in my hand and petted him. He squinted his eyes comfortably and let me scratch his neck and head. When I rubbed his belly, he let out a cry and resisted my fingers with his hands and feet. "You can't touch me here." "Sorry." I put him back in his nest. He burrowed into it without looking back, as if he was shy. It was the last class before the college entrance examination. "Classmates, do you have confidence for tomorrow?" Old Ju stood on the podium and shouted. "Yes." The whole class slapped the desks and cheered. The countdown to the college entrance examination on the wall showed only a bright one. I clapped along in a daze. There were bursts of cheering and shouting in the corridor outside. Countless white test papers and books fluttered in the air, as if it was snowing heavily. The classmates all rushed out to shout at the building. I saw that the white magnolias outside the window were in full bloom. After tidying up the books in the classroom, I realized that my youth was very heavy. It was so heavy that it took 2 full suitcases to pack it all, but it also passed by very quickly, like an arrow flying through the air. I would be taken to the place designated by fate before I had time to appreciate the scenery along the way. The night before the college entrance examination was extremely stuffy. I buried my head in front of the desk and reviewed the formulas and ancient poems that I had already memorized thoroughly. My mother knocked gently on the door outside. "Have you prepared everything?" She came in and checked my folder. She felt relieved only after confirming that everything was in order. My mother gave me a few more instructions, and I remembered them all in my heart. "Judgia, what Mom did that day was really wrong. Mom shouldn't have thrown away your hamster. I hope you won't let this affect your mood," my mother said. "No, it was my fault for losing my temper with you. I was wrong," I said guiltily. My mother held my hand tightly. "Do your best in the exam. After the exam, Mom will agree to whatever you want to do." "Thank you, Mom." I hugged her, and my heart was so sour that I almost shed tears. "Go to sleep quickly and get enough rest," my mother said. She watched me lie down on the bed and turned off the light before leaving with peace of mind. I looked at the faint streetlight shining through the window but couldn't fall asleep no matter what. "Liang Yuxing," I called softly. There was a rustling sound, and a dent formed in my pillow. "So sleepy," Liang Yuxing groaned as he lay beside me. He had been sleeping a lot these days. Sometimes I was even afraid that he would die in his sleep. "I feel a bit nervous," I said. The college entrance examination will be easier than the mock exam. Just keep a calm mind. He rubbed against my head. You don't have to take the exam, so you definitely can't understand the nervousness, I said somewhat sourly. But he just smiled when he heard that. Then what do you think the college entrance examination means to you? I thought about it and replied, it means a stepping stone, an important opportunity to change my destiny. Well said, he said. What about to you? I turned my head and asked him, an experience. Just an experience, just like being a hamster, it's also an experience, he said lazily, kicking his legs. His furry body was very warm. Aren't you afraid, for example, afraid of failure? Even if it's just being a hamster, you'd be afraid of being abandoned by the owner, or being eaten by a cat, or starving to death and so on. Before he could speak, I pinched his face. Don't tell me it's just another experience, he mumbled indistinctly. Of course I'm afraid. I've been afraid of being alone since I was a child, and I'm also afraid of the dark. I was taken aback. What kind of fear is that? He snorted and turned his body to face away from me. You asked me to say it. I didn't mean to laugh at you. I poked his butt. He moved his body and changed the topic. I'm so sleepy. Go to sleep. I patted him gently. I only heard him murmur, Yang Jiao, because you're with me. I'm not afraid anymore. Now that I'm with you, you don't be afraid either. My heart skipped a beat, and I smiled with curved eyebrows. Okay. After finishing the last exam, I walked to the school gate with the crowd. The setting sun near the evening was dazzlingly red. My mother was dressed beautifully. That light blue cheongsam suited her very well. You've worked hard, my judger, she said, bringing me a bouquet of flowers. My heart was filled with warmth. Thank you, Mom. We went to my uncle's house to have dinner with my grandmother, but when I picked up my phone, I subconsciously opened the app for memorizing words. I suddenly really wanted to see Liang Yuxing and tell him how I felt now. After dinner, I bought some nuts and rushed home. Liang Yuxing. I called for a long time, but he didn't climb out. I searched for him for a long time and finally found him lying motionless in the small nest I had made for him. My heart turned cold, and I called him softly. He still didn't move. I reached out my hand to touch him. His soft body had no warmth at all. My tears suddenly burst out like a flood. On the day I went back to school to get my graduation photo, I was in low spirits. The class was going to hold a graduation party, and the classroom had been decorated anew by everyone. It was festooned with lanterns and colored streamers. Everyone was taking photos to capture the moment, playing around, chatting and laughing. Everyone's signatures were left on the school uniforms, making them look like a photo album of memories. Only Liang Yuxing wasn't there. Maybe he would never come back. I held the graduation photo in my hand, and he wasn't in it either. I even began to wonder whether the memories of our getting along in the past few months were real or not. Had Liang Yuxing really stayed by my side briefly? The performance on the podium had already started, from the roaring laughter during the sketch performance at the beginning to the tears welling up during the chorus. I suddenly felt very sad and turned my head away with red eyes. Judger, look at me. Jiang Rong handed me a glow stick and stuck a few cartoon patterns on my face. Don't cry. Come on, smile tilde. She pulled me to take a photo together, making funny faces that were very amusing. Old Ju stood on the podium holding a microphone and said with emotion, we can meet again anywhere in life. Students, on your future journey, I only wish you a smooth road ahead, a bright future. Cheers and applause rose one after another. In the midst of this lively atmosphere, there was suddenly a knock on the door. Everyone looked towards the door. Standing by the door was none other than Liang Yuxing. His expression was calm, as if he were an old acquaintance who had arrived late. Old Ju was very surprised. The classmates all crowded around to ask him when he had woken up and how he was feeling now. He responded to the classmates' concern in a somewhat unfamiliar way, like a cold and distant moon, but I could tell that he was nervous. He wasn't used to the attention and greetings from others and unconsciously clenched his right hand. Finally, everyone in the class was present, and the atmosphere of the party became even more lively. Liang Yuxing was pulled onto the podium by Old Ju to speak. He expressed his gratitude for everyone's concern and wished the classmates academic success and a promising future. When he was speaking, he glanced in my direction, and his eyes naturally passed over me. I let out a sigh of relief. It was great that he was still alive. When the party ended at 9:30, the whole class took a group photo. This time, Liang Yuxing was finally in it. Everyone left the campus in groups, after saying goodbye to the classmates. I slowly walked to the bus stop and habitually put on my earphones. The summer night wind was very cool. As usual, there weren't many people at the bus stop. I had waited here countless nights, waiting for the last bus home. Until that day, I heard the inner voice of a hamster. Everything seemed to be different. Suddenly, there was another figure beside me. I turned my head and looked, feeling a bit surprised. Classmate Liang Yuxing. What a coincidence. Are you also waiting for the bus? Yeah. He stared straight ahead without distraction. Then we tacitly remained silent in the evening wind for 2 minutes. My bus is here, I said. Yeah, he nodded. Goodbye, I said. But he didn't respond to me. I got on the bus and sat in the last row. Liang Yuxing walked over without looking sideways and sat upright beside me. Does this bus go to your home? I asked curiously. Yes, he nodded affirmatively. Oh, I smiled. The bus started moving. The green shade outside the window swayed. And the lights were bright. I suddenly became interested. Have you read any fairy tales? I asked. About what? He replied. It's about a little hamster. He likes to eat sea salt-flavored melon seeds and honey-flavored chestnuts. He can also solve full-score college entrance examination questions. But he doesn't like to be touched, and he said he doesn't like being alone and is very afraid of the dark. Have you heard his story? I've heard of it a little. His ears were completely red. He really remembered. I took a deep breath and tried hard to hold back my tears. Suddenly, he leaned over and said with a haughty expression, "Touch me." I looked at him in surprise. He repeated, "Touch me." I raised my slightly trembling hand and gently placed it on his head. His hair was as soft as I had imagined, and his face was warm and delicate. I finally truly felt that Liang Yuxing was still alive and well. His face was so red that it seemed to be bleeding. He said in a hoarse voice, "Have you finished touching?" No. I held his face in both hands. He was caught off guard, and his eyes were filled with panic. I squeezed his face hard. "Why did you suddenly die?" There was no sign at all. He blinked his eyes pitifully. "I didn't mean to. I had been waiting for you to come back that day, and then I was really sleepy." I let go of him, but he took my hand and placed it by his ear. "I'm really back. Touch me again. Will you disappear again?" I couldn't help feeling sad. "No, I said I would stay with you, and you would stay with me too, right?" He looked at me cautiously, and I nodded gently. It was the first time I looked into his eyes at such a close distance. I belatedly felt embarrassed. He was also a bit shy and silently sat up straight. But he still held my hand tightly. Our palms were both sweaty, but neither of us let go. On the day the college entrance examination results came out, my mother was so excited that she couldn't stop crying. Old Ju patted me on the shoulder with satisfaction and told me to choose a school with confidence. After filling out the college application forms and coming out of the school, Liang Yuxing was standing at the school gate waiting for me. Under the shade of the trees in summer, he handed me a bottle of soda. "Congratulations, you've finished an important battle." I took it and thanked him. It was indeed an unforgettable experience. Go away, don't poop beside me. Damn it. We walked side by side to the bus stop. I told him that my mother had bought me another little hamster. It was fluffy and very clingy, but it definitely can't be as cute as me. He raised his hand and put it on my shoulder. He took a sip of the soda, and his cheeks puffed up. His red lips were charming. I smiled and said, "Of course, you're the cutest." He obviously didn't expect me to say that. He was choked by the soda and coughed a few times. His face instantly turned red. "I'm not that cute either. You're the cutest, right, girlfriend? The bus is here." I pretended not to hear what he said clearly. "You're still my